Hello. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time. Today, I want to cover one of my favorite monthly reports, and that's ICE's Mortgage Monitor Report. And so we're going to cover the report just published yesterday for April 2025. Now, this report has a lot of great things in it. This report this month wasn't as dense or as long as previous reports. There's not quite as many data points. But this is something you should certainly, if you're a mortgage or real estate professional, you should certainly read this report every month. And I'm going to cover a couple of key points and encourage you to look at the report yourself. So here's the thing. Here's some key findings. This is a couple of things. First, home price growth is decelerating in the United States. So annual home price growth has slowed to 2.2% through the beginning of this year. And that's considerably less growth, less appreciation than previously. Inventory is surging. It's up 27% across the country from this time last year. Now there's geographic disparities depending on where you live. There's Northeast is still constrained, and other areas like Texas and Florida has excess inventory. But as home prices, and by the way, of home prices, condos have actually started to see price or value decreases for the first time in a decade. So condo prices are dropping for the first time. Home prices in general are increasing, although decelerating with an increase of 2.2. Inventory is increasing to about 27%, about 27% last year. And affordability, because prices are flattening or even dropping as wages increase, home affordability is getting better, especially in areas like Florida and Austin, Texas. So with that, I'm going to share just a couple of the charts in this report because I can't help myself. Here's what the report looks like. I'm only going to look at two or three of the key charts, so hang in there with me. Here's the first data I want to put in. This is great news. In Q4, we did 383 refinances. And why that's good news is that's the most refinances we've done in a quarter since the Fed started raising interest rates, or the most in 2 years. So that's great news. Here's some interesting thing, and we got a lot of news, of course, this week on Rocket, and in all those articles, Rocket boasted how they had 83% retention on their book. Well, here with ICE, now you got to remember with ICE that ICE is only reporting on people that use its technology. A lot of servicers don't use, Encompass or an ICE product, and so ICE wouldn't be able to track that. So they may not have good data sets on this, but of the servicers they track, what they found is servicers had the highest retention in years with 30% retention of their book that refinanced. So in Q4, servicers retained 30% of their customers that refinance. So like I said, I think we have to be kind of cautious about this because I don't think most servicers use ICE products for refinance, for their originations. But this was an interesting thing, that they retain rate and terms at a much higher rate. So servicers, and this is from the ICE data, servicers retain refinances on 35% of the rate and term refinances. So that means if 100 people in their book did a rate and term refinance, they retained 35 of them. But they only retained 26% when it came to cash out. And cash out's a little bit more complicated, a little bit harder. Maybe an IMB or a bank could be a slightly better job than that. But it was an interesting data point, and definitely differs from what Rocket reports as their results. And when you see the reported results from NewRez or from Freedom, you definitely get different statistics than what we're seeing there. But from the ICE statistics, this is what they had. Now moving on, some other just stuff that jumped out at me. Nationally, the number of homes listed for sale is up by 27%. I mentioned that before. With the deficit relative to pre-pandemic levels falling 40%. So and you're going to see in a lot of markets, we now have more inventory listed than we did prior to the pandemic. Here's where the annual price growth decelerated to 2.7% or 2.2%. Annual home price growth dipped to 2.7% in February from 3.4% in January, making it the sharpest single month of deceleration, in the last few years. So found that kind of interesting. And that's pretty much the key stuff there. So I think mostly good news in this report. Affordability is getting better. Home prices are stable, still slightly appreciating. Inventory is growing. That's all good. We know servicers are getting a little better at retention. Not as good as the public companies are reporting to their shareholders, so there's a discrepancy there. But the key thing is I encourage everybody who is a mortgage or real estate professional to make this report part of your monthly reading. It comes out every month, first week of the month. I did a LinkedIn post on it. Check out my LinkedIn post. I did a link to the, you can't link directly to the report because the report's a PDF, but I linked to the press release. It has a link to the PDF copy. I'll put that same link below. Check it out. Hope you had a great week. I hope you're having a good weekend. Thanks for a little bit of your time, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.